Redditors, what is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you? Once in middle school, for field day, there were 2 lottery drawings, one for a soccer ball and one for a shirt. I won both. I can't imagine how many people called balls. Walked into a casino with €200 in Amsterdam, amazingly stoned and drunk. Walked out 2 hours later with €6,500. Luckiest night of my life so far. Second time playing roulette. Maybe it wasn't a casino, but one those booths and you were really drunk to notice it. I broke down on the side of the highway with no money and a dead phone when I was 19. I spent all night shivering in my car and wondering what the heck I was going to do. The next morning, a strange man in an orange car pulled over to see what was up. I explained, and he shrugged, drove me into town, and gave me $60 for a tow and breakfast. He said he wished he could do more but he had to be on the road, and wished me luck. I'll never know who he was, or where he is now, but I'll remember that guy and his immediate, unquestioning generosity forever. That's the kind of man I want to be. Someone who gives without asking just because someone else is in need. I just never seem to have an extra $60. If you're out there, sir, thanks again. Today you, tomorrow me. One time I was at a bookstore just browsing because I was flat broke. I go out into the parking lot to leave, and I see a $20 bill tumbling down the pavement in the wind. As soon as I snatched it up, I saw another one flutter in my general direction, and then another, and another. $80 literally came my way. In my junior year of college, I had a finals week from heck where I had 5 exams in 3 days. Even though I had started studying a week prior, I knew I'd have to sacrifice my grade on one of the exams in order to get A's on the rest. I was very confident on 4 of them and ended up getting A's. On the 5th, I knew I did terrible. I believe the class was Advanced Corporate Finance. Got an email from my professor. He misplaced my class's Scantron. Our final grade was replaced with the highest of our previous test scores. Ended up with an A. Goddamn, you got really lucky. Company I work for offered me all their old furniture, thousands of dollars worth. They didn't want to deal with selling or paying to have it removed, so my friend, in charge of the move, offered it all to me for free. I just sold a small portion of it last week for $5,000. It was a lot of hard work and long days, but I still have about $30,000 worth of nice furniture for sale. Couldn't have come at a better time. My ex and I bought a place I'll live in 7 years ago on a balloon mortgage, not knowing the ramifications of the note coming due. I have less than 60 days to pay off $18,000, otherwise I'll lose my home. I'm working my butt off to sell more furniture. So come on down to Fixer of Things Classical Furniture Emporium. Everything must go, or I'm homeless. I was adopted 6 days after I was born by a loving family that also happened to be well off. Nothing will ever compete with the 1-2 punch of avoiding foster care and not getting aborted. I got the same one too. Life isn't too bad. I used to be an avid bicycler. I've been hit by cars 3 times. Still alive. Don't bike anymore though. Think I've exhausted my supply of luck. After the second one you would think, hey, this isn't as safe round these parts. I was in college and was late going to an early class. I decided to park in pay-to-park parking structure instead of my normal parking lot to save time. So I was sitting in class and realized I had forgot my wallet. So I pretty much spent the rest of class trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for the parking, which you do as you leave. After class I called anyone I could think of, but they were either still asleep or already at work, and asking a stranger for money was not really something I was prepared to do. So I'm watching the gate, seeing how much time it stays up before closing. Apparently I'm not the first person to think of this because there was no time follow another car through. The gate was almost closing on the back of people's cars. Anyway, I'm about to call my boss to tell him I locked myself in parking garage and may be late to work, when a truck with a trailer pulls into the parking garage. Like I said, this gate didn't mess around, and sure enough the truck made it through, but the gate closed on the trailer, tearing it completely off its hinges. The truck doesn't even stop. He just continues on his merry way. So I hop in my car and drive over the now splintered gate. I wasn't even late to work. Thought you meant the gate tore the trailer off the truck at first. I had a job lined up teaching English in Seoul. The school P off the immigration department and my visa got denied. Coincidentally, that week 2 teachers in another province quit their jobs a week into the semester and left the country. I was offered one of the jobs, and on my first day in the country I was introduced to the man who took the other job. We just celebrated our first wedding anniversary last week. Back when I was still teaching, a student challenged me to a duel. YUGO. I told them that I used to be pretty good, under the condition that if he won, they wouldn't have to do anything for the rest of the week. It was Thursday, and we didn't really have anything to do the next day anyway, so I humored him. I accepted and brought my old deck the next day and played with him at lunch, but I realized I grabbed the wrong deck as I began shuffling. I was kind of bummed I wouldn't get to show off, but I ended up top decking a miracle hand and OTKing the poor kid. The kid obviously didn't believe in the heart of the cards. My husband and I drove to New York City from Canada to camp out for Saturday Night Live tickets to see Justin Timberlake host during his 5th time hosting, and the whole trip was just the luckiest series of events imaginable. First, we went to see a Rangers game, favorite team, huge hockey fans obviously, and we were sitting so close I yelled to the equipment guy to throw me a game puck they had just used in warm up, and sure enough he did. The day after we went to see Jimmy Fallon host The Tonight Show, and he came up and sat right in front of us and shook our hands and talked to us while he threw to the musical guest. Then we camped out for 73 hours in a blizzard for SNL tickets. We were 3rd and 4th in line, and we were right in front of the Today Show, and we met Martha Stewart, Ryan Reynolds, Lil Jon, and got interviewed, as well as the crazy Canadians camping outside for 73 hours for SNL tickets. Friday night before getting the tickets, Andy Samberg and Akiva snuck out and we met them both and got photos with them. And then IT happened. Justin freaking Timberlake came out and talked to us and hung out with us for about 20 minutes and bought us pizza from Ray's. And needless to say, we got the tickets at 7 AM Saturday and had the best freaking time ever. Right places at the right time. NYC. 3. In my middle school there were vending machines, and once I paid for a single bag of chips but 3 whole bags fell out. Best day of my life. I made a mistake on an application for a summer internship. The mistake is the reason I got the job. The summer internship was at a major pharmaceuticals company where my sister worked as a contractor. On the application, it had the question, "Are you related to an employee at XXXXXX?" I answered yes because my sister worked there. On the next line it asked, "Are you a dependent?" I answered yes because I was still being claimed as a dependent by my parents. I was interviewed and hired, and later found out that dependent college students of all full-time employees were guaranteed internships at the company. My sister was a contractor, so I was not eligible to take advantage of this. Her boss casually mentioned, "Oh yeah, I fixed your brother's application," after I had already been hired, and it was sent to the same contracting agency to file and a payroll record created, as the agency also handled all interns. The following year, the program was abolished, but since I had asked my boss if I could work year-round, I was grandfathered in. I interned for 2 years and rolled it into a full-time job when I graduated. 20 years later and I'm still in the IT field. TLDR. A mistake on an internship application launched a 20+ year IT career. A weird pattern I found one day involving lottery tickets. My mom had given me a $1 scratch off when I visited. I went home Sunday morning, scratched it, won $10, cashed it, bought a $2 ticket, won $50. I got $10 won tickets and pocketed $40. On one of those, I won $20. Got the same tickets and pocketed $10. $20 again. All in all, I followed this pattern and made about $90 in a day. Each 5th ticket was a $20 winner, so I repeated this process and made $10 each time. I finally hit a losing one, and that was it. One time I bought a $5 ticket, scratched it and won $100. Went to cash it and bought a $10, proceeded to win another $100. What a great day. Mum had to take my sister to the doctors. I was supposed to go with her, but my Abula dropped by as we were walking out the door. My Abula doesn't just drop by, so it was weird. My mom told her we were leaving and we'd see her later, but Abula insisted I stay with her after much squabbling. My mom and sister got into a horrendous car accident that day. My Abula's random appearance and the squabbling over me the ensued accomplished two things. 1. I would absolutely have died had I gone with them. The back of the car was completely smashed in both sides. My little sister was in her car seat in the middle and both sides were pushed in right to the point of where she was sitting. 2. The squabbling with my grandma delayed them just enough that when the tire popped, my uncle just happened to be driving right behind them and was able to pull over and get them out of the car before it caught fire. It was a family miracle. I still joke with my Abula about that time she saved my life. For some reason I thought Abula was giving you money on the side like a crack deal, but goddamn. Honestly, being born into a kind, loving middle-class American family which valued my education and supported me through thick and thin. Any other luck I've had in life is minor compared to winning that genetic lottery. 100% agree with this, as I'm in a similar situation. I am grateful every day that I was born in a peaceful place that enjoys a relative high quality of life, safety, and availability of resources. My half-brother was born in Vietnam and I was born here in America. Our lives are drastically different just based on 4-year difference. My college did a screenwriting contest every spring to decide which movies the junior class would make the following fall. One lucky winner would get a $2,000 scholarship. In my senior year, as almost a joke, I wrote a script in about 2 hours and entered. Not only did I win, but because I was graduating and my tuition was all paid for, the prize scholarship got processed as a check, so I ended up graduating with a shitload of pocket money to start off adulthood. And the finished film wasn't half bad either. Dang. I wish $2,000 was a shitload of money still. That's like, oh, I guess one stroke to my bills this month are paid money now. Good friend accidentally sent me a nude. Her body was incredible. I told her that, and she said something along the lines of, "Oh crap, I didn't know you thought that way about me." Well, you'll get more of those then. But accident. My girlfriend. Seriously, after years of bad relationships, growing experiences, near deaths, military, bad childhood, schizophrenic mother, massive persistent bad luck and all of my own faults causing additional problems, I finally met someone who was the most incredible, loving and accepting person I'd ever met. 5 years later, we have 3 pups, we've moved half across the country for a new job, and she tells me every day how much she loves me and that I'm pretty. Frick any of you who laugh at this. As 5 minutes and 10 seconds 178 pounds bearded guy, it's nice to hear this. As soon as I can afford, which is taking a lot longer due to bills and cost of living, a ring, I plan to ask her to marry me. We've talked and despite that I want to give her a ring. She says I don't need one and that she doesn't need anything from me except my love. Truly, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me was her. My heart feels warm. Good on you, dude. Sincerely, a fellow 5 minutes and 10 seconds bearded guy. I owned a genuine Rolex and was going through a tough time money wise, so I had to sell it for some quick cash. A couple of months later I am walking through some thick grass in Miami when something catches my eye. It's a watch, a Rolex in fact, so I picked it up and gave it a quick look and thought it was probably fake. I got home and after closer inspection found it to be genuine. Not the same type I had owned previously. Mine was a two-tone Datagist, but this was a Sedwiller dive watch. About $6,000. Absolutely gorgeous. I have had many lucky things happen to me, but that was quite special. So I was 16 and just got my driver's license. Being a dipshit, I was driving my mother's car and decided to go off-roading. Well, in the process of doing that I completely sheared the power steering line. It took all my strength to get the car home. I get home and tell my dad it just stopped working and go to bed. Next day my dad wakes me up and takes me outside. He says, "I'll give you one chance to tell me the truth." I know it didn't just stop working. So I lied out of my butt. Said that a car was backing out of a driveway. I swerved into oncoming traffic and had to swerve back to avoid a car coming the other way. I then jumped a curb and ended up on a random baseball diamond. He said, "Okay, let's go," and took my butt to where I said all this occurred. There was so much dirt and grass under the car that it obviously would have left a ton of marks on the field. I'm sweating freaking bullets on the ride there. He's actually going to kill me when we get there. He wouldn't. But I would have had my butt chewed and grounded forever. Anyways, we get there and sure as crap there are tire marks all over the field. Dirt is kicked up and crap all over the place. He still grounded me for a month for lying in the first place. But God was smiling on me that day. While looking for scalpers at a Cubs game, some guy noticed and threw down 3 extra tickets he had for me and my 2 friends from the bleachers. Made our day and we still talk about that magical moment. I suffered from some trauma as a child and was something of a later bloomer, socially speaking. I didn't really want to leave home for college, but I also didn't want to go to the community college in town either. In 11th grade, when HSAT scores came in, my counselor insisted that I apply to specific schools and didn't include the local university. So by graduation, I had been accepted by a whole bunch of schools and had varying amounts of scholarship money offered. I accepted Vanderbilt's offer because it included a walk-on spot on the school's golf team, even though I wasn't really good enough to earn a spot on the team. Everyone else on their team at the time was scratch and I was carrying 6 or 8 my senior year. Anyway, I spent the few weeks before I was supposed to leave paralyzed by fear. I truly didn't want to go because I knew I wasn't ready. 1 week before I was supposed to leave, I got a call from a professor at the university in my hometown. He was conducting a study to investigate the predictive value of SAT scores on academic performance, and he wanted to do a case study on me. I was offered tuition, books, room and board in exchange for participating in a case study that required nothing of me except a battery of tests both before the end of my first semester and after graduation. I accepted and continued to live with my parents, using my room and board money for whatever I wanted. I later contracted an often fatal illness and had to leave school for 1 year, thereby disqualifying myself from the study and my scholarship. When I was ready to return, about 3 days before the semester began, I received a call from another department asking if I would like a scholarship. Yes please. There, I developed relationships with faculty members who influenced my course of studies and career trajectory. In fact, after I finished my PhD, I returned to the same department as a faculty member. The universe takes you where it wants you to go. My freshman year of college, on the first weekend of college, I made out with a girl from my freshman seminar. She was cute, but what really got to me was that she was smart and sassier than sassafras. So I am pumped, only to have my heart shattered into a million pieces when I find out a week later that her and her high school BF are getting back together. Not a great confidence booster for me. For the next 2.5 years, whenever I run into this girl, she always said hi to me in a very cute tone. It was entirely harmless, and she was genuinely trying to be cordial, but in my slighted mind, it was just her way of telling me I suck at kissing. She regrets nothing, and I'm a loser. So, January of my junior year, my fraternity is going to have a party with her sorority that night. It was a foam party, which didn't happen ever, really. Normally, after my 10 AM class, I walk back up to our house to eat lunch. However, that day was more brisk than others, so I decided to just take the university shuttle back up to the house. Lo and behold, who do I run into at the bus stop but little Miss Hi. Shockingly, when I see her, she says, and I quote verbatim, "Hi," while doing my best Ryan Reynolds impression. I say, "Hey, what's up? Going to the party tonight?" So anyways, we talk back and forth until her stop. It was a total of about 5 minutes. She gets off, and I get hard excited. I felt like Lloyd Christmas when he first saw Mary Swanson. I do a little investigatory work, and it turns out her and her BF broke up about a month before that day. I'm glad I didn't know that before the bus trip, because I really went into it thinking, just play this whole thing aloof because she has a boyfriend. No need to be a dong to her, though. But, I digress. I see her at the party that night, and we hit it off immediately. I'm super confident. She looks great, and we are just buzzing zingers back and forth. We are drinking beers and laughing, and then finally, after what felt like an eternity, she finally pulled me in and kissed me because I was being too much of a P to do it myself. We have been dating ever since. Coming up on 4 years this January. I am so lucky. She is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and it's all because I rode the bus on that fateful January day. Nice one, dude. This one time, my professor told me to turn to page 234 of my textbook, so I took my chances and put my nail between the pages to open it at random. I opened it to page 235, so I only had to turn back one page. LOL. Whew. Open enough textbooks and you can get the range down to 10 pages. Source: college. Volunteering at Comic-Con Honolulu in July. Met my wife there. We celebrated our 1-month anniversary yesterday. What a ride it's been. So, you met her this July, and now you're 1 month married. That's very quick. Good for you if it's working though. This summer I entered a raffle at a fair and I won a personal trainer for a few sessions. It was great and totally Ray taught me about physical fitness. The German Shepherd and military policeman that I got tangled up in while leaving an Italian airport on the way back from the Netherlands didn't smell the weed in my backpack. Also, she swiped right. I swiped right. I failed a course in university. In university, I was taking a French course to improve my service language skills. I was not doing well and only receiving about a 60% mark. I was already bummed out about this mark as it meant I wouldn't qualify for COOP, because my overall grade would be just a hair below the required 70% grade average. After the final, I received a failing mark in French. And after a minor freakout over how I'd tell my parents that I failed a course, it dawned on me that, even with my limited understanding of the language, I know I at the very least scored a 50% on the final exam. I went to the teacher and said that there needed to be some mistake. She checked her records and confirmed that I scored a 70% on the exam, bringing my average up to about 65%. Here is why I'm lucky that I failed. Since I met with her, she also noticed that I failed a couple midterms, just under 50%. She offered me a chance to rewrite these midterm exams. When I rewrote these, I obviously scored significantly higher, bringing my overall grade in French to 70%, which also brought my average grade to 70%, allowing me to qualify for cooperative. Thanks to COOP, I gained practical experience and was eventually bridged into my current job. TLDR. A typo said that failed a course. Teacher corrected mistake and allowed me to rewrite tests. Resulted in me qualifying for COOP and graduating with a job. Coming home from the bar in college with my friends. I was riding, stupidly, sitting on the windowsill and holding onto the handle on the inside. It broke and I fell out hitting my head on the concrete and rolling under the car. Luckily he slammed on the brakes just in time to not run over my head. I had a concussion, a broken wrist, and road rash, but I could have died. I was told to sit next to the girl with dark hair in the back of the room when I transferred to study hall in high school. We've been married 30 years. Freaking MMF my heart. Meeting the woman with whom I will celebrate 42 years of marriage tomorrow because I didn't want to go to a Phillies game, instead going to a local club. By the third date I knew she was going to be my destiny, and 42 years on, with 2 children and 3 grandchildren, she is my history. One morning, I woke up earlier than usual and, for lack of anything else to do, decided to get the bus to work earlier than I usually do. I'm just happily listening to music and then I walk into work, and people seem to be quietly freaking out and then are surprised to see me. Turns out the bus I normally get was hit by a lorry at a crossroads. A few people rather badly hurt. Later transpired that the worst injured passenger was in the seat I normally sit in. Was hanging out with friends outside of school. Found $50 on the ground. Couldn't decide who would get to keep it, so we all went out to eat with it instead. Everyone got McDonald's. Being forced to resign from my job in 2010. I saw myself spending my whole career there. In reality, leaving gave me a reason to pursue new opportunities I otherwise wouldn't have. I am very happy with my career and have grown very much. Giving you the finger one more time, guys. I was selling paintings to raise money to go home for Christmas, but my Etsy shop was tanking. Entered a random instant win sweepstakes and won a $1,000 travel voucher. A normal holiday trip turned into the best road trip of my life. A girl I gave some of my writing to found me on MySpace 15 years later. We've been married 6 years now. It's going really well. She's the right one. When I was 10 we had a bingo game going at a church outing, and I won 4 times in a row, winning $40, which was like 100,000 to me as a 10-year-old. When I was 13 I happened to be in class with this tiny, grossly nerdy, musical elitist who ended up becoming my best friend, and now we've been together for over 3.5 years and she's currently sleeping next to me. It's crazy that she grew up to be the most beautiful person I've ever laid eyes on. She's the girl all my friends lust after and she's mine. It's insane that we ended up at the same school, in the same class, and with the same mutual friend. The luckiest bit is that for some reason she loves me back. I can't even imagine why, but she does, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world because she's absolutely incredible. Wink if you need help. I sat down next to a random guy at a grill waiting for my order to be done and started talking to him. And that's the story of how I got my first job working in a laboratory. Yeah, I can finally tell my story. I had to go to Vegas back in 2010 for work. I was unhappy about the trip because it was at a time in my life when I really didn't have any spare money to gamble with or spend in Vegas. So, not a fun place to be when you can't have fun. Anyway, a true bro gave me $100 and told me to buy into the nightly poker tournament at the Venetian. He said, "You're a good player, so hang out, play, enjoy, have some drinks, and if you win pay me back. If you don't, no worries, you'll get me back sometime." So, I did just that. I made it to the final table, then the top 3, and we chopped it 3 ways for $2,200 each. So, I put aside $1,000 to take home, $300 for my buddy, and had $900 left over to have fun with. The next night, I went to a craps table with $300. I was alone. I went on a heater. 45 minutes. By the time I sevened out, the table was full. I had $1,000 on each number and was hitting $100 hard ways. I kept putting the $500 and $1,000 chips in my pocket as I got them. When I cashed out my chips, the count was $17,400. Holy crap. Then, when I got to the cashier, I pulled out another $15,000 from the large chips in my pocket. I almost shat myself as they paid me over $30 grand in $100 bills. I wound up giving my buddy $1,000. If it weren't for that cool move giving me $100 to play with, I never would have been that lucky. I bought a big bus TV. Then I used the rest as a down payment on a house. Where I live, it's cheaper to own than to rent, but you need 20%. I didn't get into my first choice for college, or my second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. I only got into my safety school. I was devastated and felt humiliated. I tried to transfer out to a couple of my top choices freshman year and was rejected all over again. A couple weeks into my sophomore year, I was walking down the hall in my dorm and a freshman girl walks around the corner. I thought, who is that? We started dating later that year. We got married 7 years later. Now we've been together 34 years. I love her so much it hurts. Most of the time, she seems to love me. We've never met a happier couple. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.